Oh, there you go. Okay, I think we are live. We are live. I'm gonna get on Instagram here going. We are also now live on Instagram. Let's give this a minute to get. We had this scheduled for 11 o'clock today, and Facebook Live was not working. So we had quite a few people reply to that post on Facebook. So we're going on now, kind of because it's working. So we'll give people a couple of minutes to get on. And then, of course, the recording will be here for those that miss it and plan on having going on this call for 11 o'clock this morning. So I'm just going to get up the Facebook Live as well so I can moderate comments or questions that come in as we get going here, as well as Instagram. We have some people joining on there now. I'm trying to get it up on Facebook so I can see questions there. So we'll get started in just a minute, guys, on navigating college hockey with former NCAA player, Junior A GM and head coach Paul Esdale. Let me see here. I think I can get this up. Oh, there we go. Turn the volume off. Okay, we got a few people joining us on Facebook Live as well so far. More folks jumping in on Instagram Live, which is great. Servos is on. Hey, buddy. I don't think you ever played with Paul. Adrian, guys, type in, give me a thumbs up on Instagram or Facebook or both if you hear us okay. And let us know your questions or comments, of course, that you want to have addressed by Paul on college hockey. And we'll just get started in 1 minute here. We already have 10 or so people watching us on short notice here, just coming on. So, and I'm sure we'll have more joining as we get going. Trevor Lewis is on. All right, good. So you guys can hear us okay. Sounds like good. Oh, we got Victor on now, Mankovetsky. Hey, buddy. He says, hey, how you doing? Servo says he knows the name, but he hasn't had the pleasure of skating with him. Well, you're a goaltender and he's an offensive defenseman, so it's not that much of a pleasure. He's up on the play a lot. Maybe one of these masters. We're trying to get Paul into the Masters here, so we'll see. Okay, we got a good audience now. Let's get started. So we have Coach Paul Esdale on the call here. He's also the chief of hockey for the Junior Reign. But Paul is especially, I think, a great person to talk about this topic, navigating college hockey. Almost every player that I speak with in the Junior Reign or in general talks about college hockey, playing college hockey being one of their main goals. And I think it's important to have someone on who's not only played at the collegiate level. Paul was an all-star at Brown University and went on to play professional hockey after that, but Division I hockey player at Brown. But then not only that, after his playing career, was the general manager and head coach for a BCHL team, which is one of the top junior A leagues in North America that moves players on to college. So Paul had a specific role in helping players move on from junior hockey to college. He helped many players do that, and he also was fortunate enough to work with one of the best education advisors there is, really, for those few years in Port Alberni, and learn a lot from someone that we've had come and work with some of our players in the past about how to prepare kids for their path in college hockey, because there's a lot of people who don't really understand all the different pathways. It's not super simple, and it's important to be kind of have an idea of the different opportunities available. And also, a lot of people, I think, don't realize the amount of opportunities there are to play college hockey, depending on the type of format and environment you want to take. So, Paul, thanks so much for joining us and taking some time to address some of these things for the group.
Thanks, everyone. And yeah, Ben, I appreciate the introduction. And yeah, guys, it's really about understanding what you want to do. And a lot of people's dream is to play college hockey. And like Ben said, it's not that clear. And I think hopefully we can answer some of those questions today. just a little context, like Ben said, I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, uh, a ways away from Brown University, and actually never even heard of Brown University. Never thought I would be going to a pretty good academic school, an Ivy League school. Never had that on the radar as well. So there's lots of different opportunities, and the more you can educate yourself on these different paths and interests is important.
Great. So Paul, maybe just a good starting point would be just to talk about, just from real high context, what are the different college routes even available? Because it's not just they're quite different. And you kind of, we were talking beforehand a little bit about the number of programs and things, approximate number of programs of those different levels.
Yeah, sure. So I think the ultimate goal for a lot of players is to play Division I in the NCAA, and that's the highest level of collegiate hockey. And those are the there's different leagues at Brown Universities in the ECAC with Princeton, Yale, Harvard, all different bunch of Ivy League schools. And this is where Michigan, Penn State, all these different big schools are at. And Division I schools are usually the bigger schools. And there's roughly about 60 different programs around the country. And then there's also Division III. And Division III, and there's roughly, between 60, 70, I think, Division IIIs. Division III is also really good hockey, and it has a lot of good hockey players, but it's tend to be on the smaller schools. So some of the good programs would be like a Manhattanville or Norwich. So there's a lot of great Division III programs out there. And then there's also what they call in the ACHA, which is club hockey. And there's a number of programs over there, I believe, as well. And that's a different path. And so that's not competing in the NCAA, the ACHA. That's more club level, as they call it, where it's still competitive, but they're not handing out scholarships and that kind of stuff. So the different levels, tend to be not always giving out scholarships either. So I think talking about backtracking a little bit, and because I think when I first started thinking about college hockey, everyone thinks they're going to get a full scholarship and go to the best hockey school. So I think it's first to understand what you want and understanding that the realities of the schools. And a lot of the schools nowadays aren't handing out full scholarships. For example, at Brown, which is an Ivy League, it's financial aid. So they look at what your parents are making and they give you a financial aid package. Other sports schools have certain amount of scholarships to give out. So they'll break it up. So if Ben and I they're going to take us at a college and they have 100% scholarship to give, they may give you 75% and only give me 25%. So there's a lot of things like that as well. So there's partial scholarships as well. So there's a lot of different avenues on how you go. I think the thing to remember, and maybe we can get into this next, is you're not just going to play hockey. And I think that's when you first picture college hockey, is you're just going to go play hockey. And there's another side of that, and that's the biggest side of it is being a student athlete. And I think that's some of the things that I learned real fast attending an Ivy League school that are really important to take care of your studies.
Great, thanks, Paul. Maybe just to clarify again, so NCAA Division I hockey, from what I understand, that's where they can give athletic scholarships, correct? Division III, and again, doesn't mean that every player is getting a full athletic scholarship, even at NCAA Division I. And there's different levels there we can maybe go into, as far as some kids might get a full athletic scholarship, some kids might get partial academics, some kids might just get partial scholarship, some kids might get no scholarship and then maybe earn a scholarship later. And then Division III, I believe, no athletic scholarships, correct, but they do have financial aid packages and academic packages and things like that.
I think financial aid packages and academic, and the other side of it is the academic packages, right? And so was something I really learned a lot, and Tom McAvey, who was an education advisor I worked with for years in junior, was understanding about the academic index. So that's a real important thing. So if you're a student and say it's out of 10, and you're only a 7 student, and they have another kid competing with you and he's a 9 on the index, they're going to take the higher level index. So if the better the student you are, the more opportunities and more colleges you have your choice from. So I think that's important to understand, is that what you're doing, from grades 9 to 12 and post high school, will determine your college fate as a student athlete. So understanding that, and if you're lucky enough, for me, I was probably a 7 on the academic index out of 10 going to Brown, but it was fortunate that we had a lot of 10, 10 kids in the same class, so they were able to bring in some 7 and 8. So that helped me be able to go to a school like Brown. So depending on your competition and who they're bringing in to the organization as well. So it's the more the more success you can have in your studies from grades 9 to 12, and doing the SATs and the ACTs is really critical for your future as a potential college hockey player.
Yeah. So Paul, so you're saying that, sorry, hold on here, that the coach or the program, oftentimes with the Division One, they may have a certain amount of funds they can give up for scholarships that they have to spread that out across how they want to do it. And they also have a certain overall average level academics that they can bring in too, right? So if you're someone that, I guess a few things, right? If you're someone that can bring the grade average up, if you're close as far as ability level, that's going to give you a better chance, because that's going to help that coach keep their grade average up if you're a similar level player. And then also, depending on maybe if you can get more academic scholarship or financial things like that, and not take up some of the athletic scholarship funds and things, there's more options maybe that you have there as well. Maybe talk about Division III route, because we've had players that had their hearts set on Division I. You've seen players that have their hearts set on Division I college hockey and not really knowing as much about the Division III route, but ended up, like you said, there's actually can be some very good schools and very, very, very good academic schools, but very good hockey programs as well at the Division III level. We've had some players that go on and have some great experiences there as well.
Yeah, I think it comes to opportunity. I think when you're looking at schools, and if you're a player of that caliber that could play Division I or Division III hockey, it's about how you fit in with the team, what the coach thinks of you, what the incoming freshman class looks like, how many. For example, if you're a defenseman like I was, if I chose my school and I already knew there was 10 returning defensemen, probably wouldn't make the most sense, right? Being a defenseman. So I think understanding the landscape of the team, understanding how the usage of how your coach sees you as a player, how he sees you fit into the program, because this is a obviously a big decision, and it can be a 4-year commitment, right? So I think understanding the opportunity, it doesn't really matter Division I, Division III, if you find the things that you like out of school. Does it have the right academic programs that you would enjoy? Is this something that you could see, developing, getting a degree that you can use post hockey? Does this provide that? Does the school provide that? So if you can find a college that has these things, that you like the lifestyle, you like the area, you like the campus, you like the academics, you like the hockey, even the rink, the dressing room, these kind of things, they're all factor into your decision. So I think my original thought was, when I first started, I was set on, I wanted to go to this great big hockey school in North Dakota. And then as I went through the process, and I had some different colleges interested in me, and Brown just seemed to be the right fit for me. I felt the coaches understood who I was as a person, as a player. They were going to use me how I felt I needed to be used to have success as a hockey player. And then I also knew the academic structure and studies were going to be real beneficial past hockey. And if I could get I ended up taking business economics and economics degree from Brown. Felt that was very useful post hockey. So there's a lot of factors out there that can then shape where you decide on showing interest in what program.
Yeah, it's an important point, Paul, is that you're oftentimes this is a time when kids are leaving home for the first time, or maybe they've done it for junior hockey for a year or two, and you're making a decision potentially for the next 4 or 5 years of your life, and you're making a decision that we know that, again, the percentage of players that they're going to have a career in hockey, that's going to be enough of their only career. Even players now that play in the NHL are finding they still have post-hockey careers to think about. And so if you select a school, if you go to a school or something that is not a fit for what you're wanting to do, or what your interest levels are beyond the hockey part of it, or a place that you're going to be miserable in, or whatever, really not a great fit. So all those factors to consider.
Yeah, you could pick a school where, if you're a defenseman and you go there and you're the ninth defenseman and play 1 or 2 games a year, and none of the classes or studies interest you, it's going to be a long 4 years, right? So it's important to really do your homework and vet the programs that are showing interest, vet the coaching staff, know the players, know who's coming back, know what they're looking for. So there's a lot of things to take into account, know the surrounding areas. If you're a high-end player and looking to play professional after, knowing the results of sending players to the next step of professional hockey, all those kind of things, their relationships, their network, all those things matter when you're looking at different colleges.
Yeah, and maybe Paul, speak to a little bit. The other thing that we talked about another day was with Coach Tomas on junior hockey is hockey is different often than some of the other sports as far as the age. How college coaches, the age that they like to take players at college, how eligibility works compared to age level, and how that's a little bit different than maybe football or basketball.
Yeah, now we see, and I think Tomas spoke of this, we're seeing that kids are going to college to play college hockey at older and older ages. So usually it's now 20 they're going. And there's definitely some exceptions where kids are going right out of high school, 18, 19 years old. But now a lot they're going at 20. I went as a 20-year-old, and it's just the physical maturity and development of the player. Usually if you can play an extra couple years of junior hockey, that helps them develop. And I think you're seeing that at the college hockey level, you're playing against some players that are 24 years old. So if you take an 18-year-old kid versus a 24-year-old kid, there's a major difference there in physicality and maturity. And I think understanding that it's not a rush. There's definitely a window of, once you finish your youth hockey and you have to play junior hockey, and there's definitely a window there, but there's not a rush to get there when you're not ready. And it's better to be over prepared than under prepared. So I think that's some of the key things. And how do you say, the questions I ask a lot of kids is how do you set yourself up for it? So if you're a high-end player and you're being recruited, how are you handling that? Are you self-marketing? Are you talking with your coaches? Do you have a player resume? Are you tracking all the different calls and discussions you have with colleges? So these are just like little tips that you should be doing. Are you scanning websites and learning about different schools? All these little things will pay off if you're being looked at to play at the next level.
That's great, Paul. So let's dig in. Let's dial that in a little bit more. What are some of those practical tips that a kid? First of all, what age should a player start looking at some of this stuff? And what are some of those specific things that they should start to do to set them so they can make these decisions and put themselves in the right direction?
Yeah, I think usually anywhere between 16, 17 years old is usually when the start point would be, and you need to be set up in the right environment, number one. So hopefully before 16, 17 years old, you're in the right development environment. So you're developing your skills and becoming a good hockey player and a good person. So that's number one. And what you should be doing is it doesn't necessarily matter the success of the team or necessarily the level yet. Sure, you would like to play on a high-level team, but if you're on a high-level team at 16, say a AAA team, for example, but aren't playing, that's not going to help you move on to the next level. So I think number one would be make sure wherever you're playing and you're playing a lot, because that's going to give you that game experience and going to get you, if you're at different showcases and stuff, if you're on the best team and you'd hardly play, or if you're on the worst team and you play all the time, you'll be getting noticed on the worst team, right? So the team and team sports is critical and important, but it is also a vehicle for you to show your skills. Are you a great teammate? Can you battle through adversity? So I think setting yourself up and making sure you're on a team and an environment that's going to get you the most amount of playing time and the best environment to develop is important. So making sure that's set in stone when you're that critical age of 16, 17, and then having a support system, so a support group, making sure your family is on board with what you're trying to do and taking support from them or anyone else that's close to you and getting guidance. So some of the practical tips, really simple, is that, do you have a player resume? Okay, so you should have a player resume that should include all your vitals of obviously playing, height, weight, statistics. It should include video highlights, even full game videos as well, plus video highlights. It should include your academic, all your grades and all your marks, your SAT, ACT scores, all those different things as you take those. So building that player resume is important. And then the next step I think is self-marketing. So it's not just going to happen, right? Some players, the high-end players, they're going to be seeked out and compete over from the best colleges in the world in the country. But other people are going to have to grind and work at it. And so creating a cover letter and a resume and highlight videos and all these things and trying to communicate and contact colleges, I would highly recommend that. Look for, online now, we have everything's on there. Contact the assistant coaches. I would suggest to do that first and reach out to assistant coaches, introduce yourself. Hey, this is Joe Smith. I wanted to include my player resume. I'm going to be at this showcase in Detroit, January 13th to 15th. I hope you guys can make it. Those kind of things like that are very helpful. And the more you can communicate to colleges, and you may not get responses, but a couple responses will get you on the radar, and it will also help you develop great skills, right? Think about the skills you're developing and building a resume, communicating with people, reaching out to employers. It's the same skills that you'll need post-hockey when you're looking for a job, right? So I think those are important skills. And obviously you need parents, and if there's an academic advisor that can help you, support you along that path.
Great. Awesome, Paul. So I put some of those tips into the comments chat so that people can look at those resources as well. So those are some great tips there. Maybe just the last part you talked about academic advisor. What are some of the things that Tom did specifically for players that he worked with as an academic advisor? Did he just help them build that resume, or he also, I think, went deeper into like the type of schools that would be important for them, right? So some people more of a trade school, right? Other people depending on looking in how to set themselves up for that, right?
Yeah. First of all, yeah, getting your core classes organized and in order, and knowing what you need to take as a high school student. So I think that's number one, because I think for me, I remember when I was growing up in Canada, I needed to take an English class, and there was English 30 or English 33, and English 33 was actually easier. So I was able to take English 33 and have a higher percentage. I had like an 85, and it still transferred over to the Brown University academic class. So I was able to take a different class than I had to and raise my percentage. So knowing your core classes and what they're looking for, and then knowing the fit you want. Yeah. So for example, if you're trying to get into a trade school, there's something we didn't mention was there's a ton of Canadian universities as well, and they have trade schools and stuff. And so making sure you're taking the right type of classes for what you're trying to do past hockey, right? So this is really, it's not just about hockey. Set yourself academically up academically is really important. So I think that's a lot of the things he did was develop that core set of classes that you needed for certain types of schools. And once you identified your top 10 or 12 schools, this is what you need to do, and follow that course outline for the grades, especially grades 10, 11, 12 is important. And then know what testing do you need to do. Do you need to do all I did was an SAT, but some schools may require something else. Work on developing a personal resume. That's not just a hockey resume, but an academic resume, right? So there's many entrances to colleges. You're going to have to write something. You're going to have to write why you should be admitted to a college, and what are you going to bring to this school. And there's a lot of academic scholarships like we talked about out there as well. So there's definitely a lot of different writing skills and different sets of skills you'll need to take the next step of, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're trying to open all doors possible and create as much opportunity as you can. Because if the weaker the student, the less opportunity. The better the student, the more opportunity. The better the student and the better the hockey player, a lot of opportunities. So if you're a great hockey player and you're a lousy student, your window amount of schools isn't going to be that big. But if you're a great student and a great hockey player, the window is much bigger.
Great, Paul. Thank you. And then, so maybe just to wrap up, I think one of the other things that players maybe don't realize, if they get to the point where they're not getting maybe the offers from Division I schools or Division III schools, they might really think that there's not an opportunity for them to play hockey in college. But you talked a little bit about the ACHA. There's a lot of there is a lot of programs out there that if you're focused on your academics and going to college, there also is a lot of programs out there where you can continue to play hockey through your college hockey career, even if it's not on a hockey scholarship or in the NCAA, and still have that experience of playing the game for a college team and enjoying that experience. Maybe just share a little bit about ACHA.
Yeah, you're still going to get the same experience of being on a team, competing the game you love, and going to a school that you're working towards a degree for. So there's definitely opportunities, and there's definitely opportunities out west here and other places all over the country where these are great academic schools and they're good club hockey programs. Their programs not at the level that would play NCAA, but it's still an opportunity to compete, love the game, and continue your studies. And I think there's great programs all over the country. So it's another great option for people. Like I said, there's only 60 Division I NCAA teams, right? So average, figure out the numbers there. There's roughly 25 players per team, right? So you're looking at 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 players in the country, and that's it, right? So there's other options. Division III, like you said, Ben, is a great option. There's smaller schools, a lot of different academic studies at those kind of schools that you can have excel, and they'll still get the packed rinks and the exciting playing for your school colors, the school band playing at the rinks, and so all those programs will have stuff like that. So it's really just finding what fits for you and making sure the number one thing you have to do is take care of your studies. And if you're in grade 9 right now, it's time to start taking your studies serious if you want to play college hockey.
Awesome, Paul. Thank you. And we'll take questions on the replay as well. If you have questions or comments, type them in. We'll get back to you. Paul, if someone wants to reach out to you directly with some stuff about college hockey, just email the best thing.
Yeah, just email paul@juniorrain.com and we can set up a call or a Zoom call and chat for sure.
Okay, great. I'll share that email as well in the comments. And thanks again for joining us. We'll have you on again soon, I'm sure.
Okay, thanks guys. Take care.
Thanks a lot.